Hi guys, today we are starting our next unit on pricing. Today's chapter is going to focus on the importance of price. Our objectives for today are to explain the concept of price, identify and describe factors that affect pricing, and describe how product, place, and promotion may affect pricing decisions. Our key terms are value proposition, list price, selling price, manufacturer's suggested retail price, unit pricing, fixed expense, variable expense, elastic demand, marginal utility, law of diminishing marginal utility, and inelastic demand. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is what exactly is price? Well, I'm sure you know, but pricing is the amount of money requested or exchanged for a product. If you are in charge of the pricing function of marketing, it's going to be your job to correctly price your goods and services for your business. And there are a lot of things to consider. First, you need to think about the cost it takes to produce and also sell the product. You also, as a company, should have goals as far as your desired level of profit. So your price should align with your profit goals for your company. And you also have to make sure that the price that you charge for your product or services are in line with what your customers are willing and able to pay for the product. Like I said before, pricing is a function of marketing. We learned that in the beginning of the year with the 7 functions of marketing. And it's used by marketers to establish and communicate the value of products. Now, this term, value proposition, explains the value of the product over others that are similar. So that's very important to your brands to make sure that your value is above and beyond the competition. So value may also be a part of the brand promise that it's, you're getting the best, deal for your money. And customers may be willing to pay more if they believe in the value of the product or the service. Like they might be willing to pay more for your brand because they are brand loyal or because they know the quality of the product supersedes that of the competition. Now, pricing types are very important for you to understand if you're responsible for the pricing function of marketing. So the first level of pricing is the list price, and that's the established price printed in a catalog, on a price tag, or in a price list. It doesn't include the discounts. So think about this holiday season, how many discounts were offered. So you would have the list price, the tag on the products, but then certain stores had different discounts, like 30% off all clothing, or maybe they said buy one, get one half off, or spend $50, save $10. So once you include those discounts, the price actually paid would be the selling price. So selling price is the actual price paid for a product after any discounts or coupons are deducted. The manufacturer suggested retail price is the price recommended by the producer. So a lot of times producers sell their products to retailers, and the producer is telling the retailers what they suggest they sell that product for. It's not always what the product is going to be sold for. It's just a suggestion by the producer. Now, there are some other types of prices and terms that you need to be familiar with as far as pricing goes. A tip, it's not going to be called a price. A tip is paid in addition to the bill. So obviously this is, if you go to a restaurant or you have a service where you give extra money for extraordinary service, that is paid in addition to the total bill. Just a little FYI, when tips were first put in place, tips were typically given before the service was rendered because it was to ensure proper service. So that's what tip stands for, to ensure proper service. But now it's more customary to give a tip at the end of the service. Tuition is the price of attending school, whether it be college or some type of other academy. We have admission, that's the price for entrance, either to a sporting event, concert, play, things like that. A donation is an amount given to charity. Interest is the price of a loan. Interest is sometimes hard to understand, but if you have a credit card, you would pay interest on any balance that you wouldn't pay. So if your interest is 17%, then whatever your balance was on the credit card, you would pay 17% in addition to the cost of whatever you had on your bill. So that would be interest. A fee is a price for seeing a professional like a doctor or a psychiatrist, something along those lines. Fare is the price for transportation like air fare, train fare, cab fare. So those are the different types of pricing. Now, unit pricing is very important, not only as a someone who's responsible for the pricing function, but also as a consumer. So what unit pricing does is allows customers to compare product prices based on a standard unit of measure. So in this case, it's going to be like an ounce or a pound. So in this case, you can see if you want to compare prices, we have two different types of salad dressing. And you can see which one is cheaper. So one is going to be more ounces, but it costs $3.99. The unit price is $2.66, where here there's less ounces. The total price is $3.69, but you're paying $4.92 per ounce. So it's important to keep in mind that if you want a better deal, not necessarily paying less, but paying less per unit, you should look at the unit prices as opposed to the end price, just because this is ultimately, especially if it's going to be something that you use ongoing, you'll have to replace it less. So unit pricing is very important as a consumer. Just so that you know, unit pricing is required by law in some states to help consumers make good buying decisions. However, even though it's required by law, some stores do this anyway, just because it encourages customers to buy the larger sizes and increase their sales figures. So, something like milk per se, you can buy milk at ShopRite, but you could also buy it at Target and you could also buy it at Walmart. So, the company wants you to spend as much money in that store in that point in time, so that the next time you run out of milk per se, you don't go to another competitor. So they want you to spend more up front, and so that's why they often voluntarily list the unit prices. Now, there are some other factors that affect price that we're going to talk about. Company goals, expenses, customer perception, competition, economic conditions, government regulations, and product life cycle. And supply and demand. We're going to talk about all of those different factors that could affect price. So the first is company goals. Different companies have goals as far as how much profit they want to make. And then for that reason, they might want to alter their prices to align with their company image. So prices can create an image of high-end products, where low prices create an image of discounted prices. Expenses can also affect profit. If you think right now, a lot of things are becoming more expensive with COVID, just because when you consider how hard it is to get things from one place to the other, or different companies are having to spend more money, like restaurants per se, trying to have outdoor seating sets up, so their expenses are growing. That's going to impact the prices, and that's why a lot of things are a little bit more expensive right now. So expenses, profit that's made only after covering all the expenses made expenses to make and sell the product. There's fixed expenses and variable expenses. So fixed expenses do not change and are not affected by the number of products produced or sold. I have an example of rent here or salaries. They're going to be the same every single month, where variable expenses can change. So those would include advertising, sales commissions, like my electric bill changes every month, my water bill changes every month. So those would be variable expenses. Customer perception can also affect prices. So customers often perceive prices showing the value or quality of the product. But if prices are set too high or too low, that's going to change their perception and will ultimately impact sales. Competition can also have an impact on prices. Marketers constantly monitor the prices of their competitors because competition could change their prices. And so a lot of times businesses want to make sure that they are aligned with what their competitors are priced at. Price competition is competing on the basis of price along. Non-price competition is having a competitive advantage based on factors other than price, and that's used to build brand loyalty. Economic conditions can also affect prices. So prices tend to rise during good economic times and expansion, where during a recession they might fall. Some product prices, such as high-end luxury products, are not affected by business cycles. So they're going to maintain their pricing just because their image is going to be mainly surrounded by their high-end prices. The product life cycle also has a big impact on prices, and we talked about this when we talked in chapter 15 when we talked about the product life cycle. But new products can be priced high or low, but typically they're going to be higher to recoup costs. Growth stage is going to bring more competition and lower the prices, and then maturity and decline is going to make everything kind of bottom out. Supply and demand can also have an impact on prices. Prices rise when demand is high and the supply is low, and prices fall when demand is low and supply is high. Elastic demand is product demand that changes with price. Lower prices tend to increase demand. And these are some additional terms we need to be familiar with as far as economics go. So marginal utility is the additional satisfaction gained by using one additional unit of the same product. So there's at some point, products could be priced so low, but at some point it's like, I just don't need these products. So even though it's so low, I'm not going to buy it. And then that's also goes right along with the law of diminishing marginal utility. It states at some point there is no satisfaction from more of the same product. Okay. Inelastic demand is product demand that is affected by price, such as food and medications. It's not affected. So those prices are going to stay closer to the same. And then pricing decisions influence those made about product, price, place, promotion. Types of product materials can increase or lower product prices necessary for profit. So sometimes if other factors lead to increasing prices, they might change the production material in order to keep prices down. Place decisions may affect pricing through additional transportation costs. So you might not want to sell a product in a certain place because it might cost more to get it there. And promotions are affected by price in both the message used to appeal to the target market and the marketing budget. So for today's activity, what you are going to do is you are going to evaluate different products that you maybe have wanted over the holiday season, and I would like for you to compare the list price at 3 different retailers. Also, see if there are any discounts available to determine what the best selling price would be, so that we can reinforce those list price and selling price terms and how they apply in real life.